What's good, everybody? Welcome back to season 2 of Beyond the Usual. Yes,
Two.
back. Happy New Year, everybody, 2025. Let's make it a great one. I'm your host, Paula Zay Anthony, and we have the pleasure of having Kalisha Lachey here, second host. How you doing today?
I'm feeling grounded.
Mm.
Grounded. That's how I'm feeling. How about you?
Same. I'm feeling rooted. I'm feeling
Mm.
connected. I'm feeling elevated. I'm feeling light, right? And you want to know why I feel that way? I'm going to tell you why I feel that way. I feel that way because I understand where I am and I understand where I'm going. As you can see, I got these goals behind me, right? And these are my roadmaps, right? This is what keeps me
Mhm.
on track and it allows me to track my progress. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be getting into where are you along your journey. And as a matter of
Mhm.
fact, this is going to be a series for the month of January of where are you. So everything that we talk about in January is going to be premised around where you are, where you might be stuck at, where you want to go, and just recognizing how to navigate the uncertainties, right? So these are the
Mhm.
things that we're going to be talking about for the month of January. And we're going to start off with where you are on your journey because you need to be able to identify where you are in order to understand where you are going. And it also helps to understand where you have been to understand how you got to where you currently are. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we're going to help y'all create a roadmap in this video today.
I think it's important to know, again, as we talked about, where are you? Because I feel like that's where a lot of confusion and people live their life in autopilot, right? Where we're just thinking like life happens to us and then we just move. But if you're not really clear on where you are, and again, like where you're trying to go, like knowing the path, like actually seeing the path, it's like it you just kind of let life happen to you. And essentially, if you're doing that and you're just thinking like I just, whatever, I just things happen and as we used to say in the military, we adjust fire. But having that awareness of where we're at, like, is so powerful that I think a lot of people just don't really understand the power of knowing where you are on your journey, because again, you can't really be guided if you just letting life happen to you. But it's so easy. That's like how we get into that victim consciousness and that survival mode. So we are breaking that. It is 2025. We are growing in awareness, and like it can only go up from there, like because once you know something, you can't unknow it.
Mm,
So
facts.
let's know some things about ourselves.
Facts. Let's know some things about ourselves. You know what, man? You set me up perfectly. I ain't gonna lie. This this speaks well to the first point that I have. When are you going to participate? Right? When are you
Mm.
going to start being an active participant in your life? Because the only reason why you feel like you don't know where you are or the circumstances of a previous past got you to where you are is because you weren't actively participating in your life. You were just kind of letting life happen to you. And at some point, you was probably maybe trying to grab hold of life, but it just slipped because you just didn't know how to grasp it. So therefore, you just kind of went on autopilot, just hoping like, yo, just let this thing go, right? Just let this thing play out because I'm done. I done tried, and this is the result I got. So now, in this moment, is your opportunity to now be an active participant in your life because to be honest, the way that things are moving right now, you really have to be intentional about every single move that you make because that is the definitive factor between you living a good life and you living an average life. And most of the times, nothing wrong with an average life, but average nowadays it won't get you to where it is that you want to be, especially if you want to live a comfortable life, right? So, what do you have to do? And I'm just kind of I'm phrasing this question. What do you have to do to be a active participant in your life? What do you think?
Awareness, like that's the word that comes to my mind. Is we can't know where we want to go or even truly get the lessons of from where we've been until we know where we're at on the spectrum, you know? Like I feel like having the awareness of the space that we're in mentally, emotionally, like in life with our goals and things, it's like that is truly the key to unlocking everything. Because again, if you're not aware of it, what you gonna do? Like, there's nothing to even. There's no action item. You know, if you don't even know the problem, there's no solution you can come up with. So, to me, that's definitely the key point. It's to be aware, and when you're aware, I think the thing about that is sometimes when we're aware, we just become aware of everything that's not right in our lives. So I think, well, I mean, that leads to another point, but essentially just knowing.
Mm,
Because if you know, then you can have clarity. You know, you can start to see other parts of the puzzle.
mm.
So that's what I would say. What about
Okay.
you?
For me, I would say in order for you to be an active participant, I think you need to really evaluate your wins and your losses, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you really need to evaluate where you've won in life and where you've learned in life, right? Because we don't really lose, we just learn, right? That's what we do over here.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're able to really tally those things up, you can get an understanding of what you're good at and what you're not good at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what you need to improve on. Because I feel like that's what really happens. We get so stuck in like, man, I won in this area and we ride the wave of that win. But then when we lose, we dwell on the loss and think to ourselves, how could we have done, what could we have done differently in order to prevent this loss, right? And we kind of get stuck in that repetitive cycle while life
Mm-hmm.
is continuing on. So it's like you're, in a sense, leaving yourself behind and not allowing yourself to move forward in your present now
Mm-hmm.
reality. So I would
Yes.
say, in order for somebody to be an active participant in their lives, you really have to evaluate your wins and your losses, and you really have to learn from both, right? Because this is what I feel like. I feel like your wins are going to catapult you at your lowest points because there's going to come times where you feel like, dang, you run into something and it's like, dang, I can't get over this obstacle in front of me. But then you can go back to when you won at something that was really difficult for you, where you put in the hours to really be the best that you could be to win whatever it is that you won, and you can bring that energy into that present and overcome whatever obstacle that you're facing in your now reality. And the same thing can be done with your losses too. Like use your losses as lessons to learn what not to do next time, right? Because it's going to come up for you. Even if your brain forgets, and I'm taking a quote from you, your body keeps the score, right? So your body knows, your body knows what it feels like whenever you've encountered a loss. And so now you can train your brain to really be an active participant in your life, and you can utilize both of those components to win because it's like, okay, I'm reacting and I'm not going to react the same way when I lost. I'm going to be more reactionary. It's kind of like when you first start boxing, right? Your reaction time is slow, right? When you box, but it doesn't increase until you get hit a couple times because you're knowing like, okay, he's going to come in with a right hook. Bow. Dang, you hit me with it. Okay, he's going to do it again. Boom. Now you box. Now you weaving, right? Now you're really getting into the fight.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with us in our lives, you know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a like a clearer way of what I was initially trying to say. It's like because that's how you become aware of where you are on your journey is to evaluate the good and the bad. You know, like of or at least what you deem as such. It's like what my dating coach actually talks about taking radical responsibility in your life. You know, women that we come in there and we're just complaining about men and then pee in the dating pool and things like that, but not taking accountability for, like not being an active participant in the dating process. You know what I mean? Like, well,
Mhm.
if that's what you encounter and why you keep putting up with it, you know, like type of thing, like just taking, again, just that radical responsibility for where you are at. But it begins with awareness, like to get there. So that's actually something in, you know, like in my program, that's the first thing we dive into. It's like what makes up who you are essentially, but parts of that is to understand what are the self-limiting beliefs, what are the, you know, what are your core values, what are the things that drive what you do, why you do it, um, to help us grow into awareness. And that sets the foundation for literally everything else, you know, everything else we work on in the program. So it makes sense to, again, just evaluate the wins and the lessons, because I feel like most of us are on autopilot and we bypass the wins, but we dwell and sit in the hard stuff, the things we deem as losses, you know. So it's very important to actually the you know have the first steps be to actually try to like look at both, like and see what is true, not just what our belief system is, because again, that's jaded by our experiences and our losses and our heartbreaks and our, you know, just everything in life. So actually truly evaluating, because again, your life, your experience is your template. That is the
Mhm.
template for this personal growth timeline. Like everyone has a separate one, you know, but being able to truly look at, okay, what can I learn from this win even, you know, like we tend to like let our goals happen and we're like, okay, great, on to the next one, that we don't even think like, well, what actually worked for me, why was this a win, let me
Mhm.
evaluate that, and let me, you know, in the sense of rinse wash repeat, let me repeat that part, you know. And then also going to the losses, the challenges in our life, and doing the same thing. Okay, well, when did this start to go where I deem it as going wrong? You know, what was I doing up until that point? What shifted? You know, what was the energy I was in? What was the mindset that I had when this was happening? The same thing with the wins. So once you can start to actually look at both and see both as important data to guide you in that foundation, like that's, I mean, you're off to the races. Like you're that's a great foundation to have to like start the personal growth journey, to just be an awareness of where you are and how you got here. And that's the good and the bad.
Yeah, facts. Nah, facts. That's for real. And you know what? All of that is a sign of growth, right? And part of all of this ties into growth, right? Because once you're able to recognize these factors, you're able to recognize your own growth too. Because I'll be honest, and we talked about this off camera too, right? My stepmother, she was able to recognize something that I was doing that I wasn't able to recognize myself. She was able to recognize the growth in how I was presenting, right? When I present myself on these platforms. And that was something that I didn't see because I was so engulfed in the process that I didn't take time to step back and really notice and recognize how much I had grown throughout that entire process. And so I think that is important for everybody, wherever you are right now, really take a step back and notice how much you've grown, right? But first and foremost, you have to forgive yourself, right? Forgive yourself for not giving yourself the opportunity to really recognize the growth that you've acquired over time. Because most of the times we'll beat ourselves up when we feel like we got a good streak going on and then something happens and it's like, damn, I done messed up or whatever the case is. But part of growth, I feel like, comes with forgiveness, right? Forgiving yourself and understanding yourself at a higher level so that way you can move forward and continue to recognize the growth within you. But
Yeah.
how, from your perspective, how does that work as far as like growth? Like, what are some signs that you look for that a person is growing?
Well, so I think, I mean, well, there's many signs, but I did want to just kind of circle back to what you said, because I really think that's really important, is about the forgiveness, because most of us spend probably 80% more time of our lives criticizing ourselves and judging ourselves. And I feel like our brain is naturally geared towards the negative. Our brain is a problem solver. So of course, what are we going to notice more of? The problems in our life, the problems within us, problems within other people. And I think that's a major part of the journey, is forgiveness. But I think because we know, like, if you ask anybody in the grocery store walking down the street, there's probably not a person that you cannot ask, like, who do you need to forgive in your life? And them not have immediately a person that comes to mind or a specific situation that comes to mind. But I think the biggest thing is it's not just forgiving other people, but it's like you said, it's forgiving ourselves. Because usually a lot of us have grown up to be like people pleasers, or, like we just are taught to pour out for other people, that we tend to, again, just kind of, it distracts us from the work, which is us. And so it's easy to think about the people that, we may not even be thinking about it, like forgive the other person, but at least people that we blame for, externally. But the real work is truly like learning that the person that you truly need to forgive is yourself. And I remember, like, I had made a reel on social media, and well, it was like 3 parts, I think, but it was like a letter to my inner child. And it was like, I'm sorry, for not, like, it was like you felt like other people were silencing you, but it was me, and I'm really sorry that I wasn't what you needed me to be, that I didn't stand up for what didn't feel good to us or what we knew was right or whatever the case may be. And I think that's a major part, is to learn to forgive ourselves for the choices that we no longer align with, the person that we were that we no longer align with. Because I think in that is what carries so much heaviness, so much weight in our lives, because we're still attached to those identities. We're still attached to the past decisions and the circumstances and the trauma, that we don't allow ourselves to truly see the degrees of separation. Like, it's like there's so many wins in that. Like you said, you didn't really, and I know we talked about this, like we always talk about celebrating our wins and stuff, but it took your mother-in-law to kind of like say, hey, like, I noticed the thing, like I noticed how much you shifted, for us to really like sit and be like, oh shit, like, damn, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, I have come a long fucking way. I'm not where I want to be yet, but, or, where like there is a person I'm still trying to become, but there is all this space of all these growth, these growth wins, like, and just really sitting with the fact that no matter where, you feel like you're trying to go in the path forward, there's so much value in seeing the path behind us as well. So and a part of that is learning to forgive ourselves, because if we don't have that forgiveness, when we look at our past, we're not going to look at the wins. You know what I mean? Like, we're looking at it from a negative light, and that is very dimming. That's a very low vibration. If we're coming from judgment, if we're coming from criticism, if we're coming from that you should have known better type of energy, and it's very dimming. So we're not able to see the true value of the experiences that we've had, positive or negative, in the past, I feel like. So forgiveness is a major point, and I just wanted to emphasize that.
I like that. That's true. I feel like forgiveness is the key to it all, and it allows you to really release a lot and open up more space for you to really see that, right, and really accept that. We're going to be wrapping up here soon too, but I want to encourage people, right? I want to leave people with some encouragement. I want to encourage you to embrace where you are without judgment, right? Embrace where you currently are without really judging yourself, right? Because essentially that's the premise behind everything that we've talked about so much. At least that's part of the premise behind everything we've talked about so much, is being forgiving to yourself along your journey. Like, yeah, you can do all of these things and you can follow this roadmap, but at the end of the day, you really have to forgive yourself for where you once was. And I spoke about this in a former video, that the person that you once wasn't the person that you currently are, which is why you need to forgive yourself to move forward, because you feel like, dang, had I known then, like you said it already, had I known then what I knew now, I wouldn't have gone through what I went through. But then again, you wouldn't be the person that you are now had you not gone through what you went through, right? Because you wouldn't be able to recognize the difference. So that's my word of encouragement. Just don't judge yourself while you're on this journey too harshly, because everything that you're going through already carries a certain weight. You adding on top of that weight is not going to make you any stronger, because the weight that you carry is already enough pressure as it is. So to alleviate that pressure some more, just forgive yourself, you know?
Yeah. And I like what you said about releasing the judgment of where you are and also where you were, because they are two different. Like, especially if you have these lofty goals that you're trying to work towards, or this person that you feel like you want to become, if you're not there, or maybe if you don't even have the clear path forward, we're naturally going to want to judge the space that we're in. And the judgment, it's not to say you're not going to get where you want to go, but it's going to very much so slow down the process. It's going to, because it creates more resistance, so if we just allow the space we're in and truly take a time to, create this kind of like roadmap. And I know, like, for some people it may sound silly, because I know when I first got into this, like, people that were like, oh, let's do vision boards and let's, like, like, write down all these things. I was just like, what? Like, that's it just seemed like, why? It didn't seem to I didn't see the purpose in it, or the value in it. But I would definitely recommend, we talk about this personal growth timeline. What could that look like? I would say getting a piece of paper and writing down like the major points in your life. I would write down past traumas. I would write down lessons that I learned from it and behaviors that I created outside, because of the trauma impacting me. I would look at things that have been repetitive in my life, like core wounds that I've had, like, oh, there was this fear of abandonment or something, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would start to get clear on those things, where as much as the wins as well, like good things that have happened in your life. And I feel like if you write on one side like those things, and then list also where you're wanting to go, the things that you are desiring, the person that you're becoming, characteristics, traits, even like physical things, like, okay, do I see myself as, a business owner, or, in a marriage, or whatever the case may be, like showing that. And then in the middle, like writing where you are now, like what are the things, because once you write the past, which we very intimately know, and then also the person that we want to be, it kind of makes it easier to kind of see where we're at now. And that can be a great way to physically see. And actually, it's something that one of my coaches had sent me. She sent me an image, and it was like, one was when you're like thinking, analyzing things, and it showed like two hands together or something like that, and then water coming, still leaking out. But then it showed when you write things down, because of the clarity and you can physically see it, it showed, I think it was like a cup or something holding the water, and it's not leaking. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense, because I'm like, I think very well. Like, I'm a very solution focused. Like, I see processes, I see a lot of details that most people don't. But even in that, there's a lot of leaks, because you know how us overthinkers, right? Like, I could think about one thing and then I'm like, okay, ooh, and then it trails off, because like you like it just naturally happens, Like, sometimes I'll be in conversation, I'm like, girl, how the hell we get here? Like, that's not even what we were originally talking about. So our mind can veer off, but if we physically see it in front of us, there's no way to, like, not to say you can't get distracted, but in a sense, like, okay, it makes it very clear, and I physically see it, and it makes it easier to kind of determine where you are on your journey now. And that can actually be an exercise to get you to have more gratitude. And gratitude is a major part of, at least it's been for mine, my own like personal development and healing journey, is having gratitude for where I am. But it only began, I felt like I only really started to learn, like practice gratitude, was when I actually started getting clear, and clarity was in writing it down. So that would be my like suggestion for that personal growth timeline. What would you say is the action item, or anything to add to it, or anything you would do different?
So for me, and this could be an exercise too, like what you said earlier. This could just be a part of that same exercise. Like creating a personal growth timeline. And what comes to mind when I say that, creating a personal growth timeline, is setting goals that you can hit in an ideal time. But make it in the beginning stages, make it realistic, because it's you versus you until it becomes you with you, right? Because there's going to be this rational mind that comes in and says, oh, you're not going to hit that in time, right? So you have to make the goal easily attainable, so that way you can start building on top of this timeline of wins, so that way you can stretch it out a little more. Because again, like I said, it's going to be you versus you, because the you that you currently are is kind of resistant to the you that you are becoming, because it seems like it's unrealistic, but really it's easily attainable. But you have to create that. You have to create that within your mind to show how easily obtainable it is. So again, it's you versus you until it becomes you with you. So that's one thing that I would tell people, is just create goal, a timeline, a growth timeline. So that way you can measure how much you are growing. So that way you can easily achieve all of your goals, and you can get to that point to where you truly desire. And
Yeah.
that'll be my thing. So
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. And then just in the season of like us not playing small, and like that is something, because if you were like me, a big part of my journey again was intellectualizing a lot of things. I like we could talk all day about it. I could spill off everything. But as far as implementation and processing it emotionally, um, it was very difficult for me. I listened to a lot of the podcasts, read a lot of the books, like, watched YouTube University type of thing, but there was still a gap, as far as action and implementation. So this is something that I will say, if you feel stuck, because some people can do these exercises we're talking about and have a great template on, a path forward. But some people may still feel stuck. It's like, okay, I have all this great information. It's like, oh, great. Like, these are cool things. But then after you do them, you're kind of like, okay, what now? Like, how do I actually do this? It's like somebody just saying, oh, meditate. And it's like, okay, great. But like, how do I actually, like they're like, oh, spend 20 minutes, or, just do 10 minutes at a time. But it's like, how can I break this down and apply it for me specifically? And this is something that we get very in depth with in my program, with significance coaching. And I work with you one on one to really dig into where you're at. And we create this whole timeline and map of how you can be guided daily by becoming the best version of yourself. But we break it down into, I have these 5 pillars that we go into, and it's just very in depth. And I recommend that, if you are interested, the link is definitely in the show notes here, to book a call with me and to have a conversation, because some of us just need an extra layer of accountability. Hell, I got coaches. Like, it's like we all need someone for that to kind of help guide us and give us clarity and bring us back to center sometimes when, our brain goes off and we're just kind of like feeling lost. So that is my recommendation. And I hope that you guys had a takeaway, and I would love to see in the comments what your takeaway was from today, because we definitely talked about a lot. But different people, different things are going to stand out, right? Based on where you are in your journey. So I definitely want to see some comments on where you're at, what you took from today, and how you're going to implement something. What's an action that you're going to take? Are you going to try to make this personal growth timeline? And again, it doesn't have to look exactly like what we talked about, but what's your action item to move forward from here?
Like it. Like it. Hey, I couldn't have closed it off better than myself. Thank y'all for tuning in today. Thank you for being on this journey with us, and thank you for allowing us to be on this journey with you. And I believe we do better when we grow together. So let's continue to grow with one another. And if you found this helpful, inspiring, or motivating in any way, shape, or form, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe. And like she said, put something in the comments. Let us know what you learned from this. Let us know your takeaways. And your course, the worksheet, I've done the worksheet before, right? And that worksheet is powerful, let me tell you, because
And I just added to it. Listen, I just revamped it. I am so, like, I showed it to my client, was like, she was like, yeah, I'm loving this. I'm loving the changes. So I'll have to send it to you so you can see it. But, and I even changed the name. It was called the Challenge and Reframe Worksheet. And it's based off of like what, if you've ever done like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, in counseling or therapy, it's very similar to that, but I've added to it, and now I call it a limiting belief mapping exercise. But it gets more in depth, and I'm super excited. It's an amazing worksheet. But you want to get that, you gotta get in the program. So, but it's I've definitely got great feedback from it even before I revamped it. So yeah, that's definitely a something. But I think in there, I don't know, maybe it's called the it's like cognitive reframing. It's very similar to that. So if someone's interested in doing that, like, you know, seek out a counselor or therapist that, you know, specialize in CBT. Yeah.
this has been another episode of Beyond the Usual.
Unusual.
Kalize and Kalisha Lachey. Until next time, folks, peace and progress.
Isha.